gon' put in work, clocking overtime, always on our grind, in a state of mind. We gon' put in work, clocking overtime, always on our grind.
What's going on, everybody? It's your man DJ Swamp Thing. This is What's Your Hustle podcast, where we're talking to both the creatives and the business professionals, giving you guys a chance to meet some of the great people that I know, introduce you to some of my network. And this time we do not disappoint. This is a great way for us to start off our second season of What's Your Hustle. Thank you to everybody who's watched last season's videos and contributed and supported those. We really, really appreciate it. All of the guests were very were honored for the comments and the likes and the different things. So let's continue that for the second season. Gentleman, man's man, husband, father, just a great guy, somebody that I respect a lot here in the city. Again, you guys hear me talk about how just being here in Columbus after being 30 plus, already grown, sometimes it's hard to connect with new people, get new friends. I've been very fortunate to not have that issue, especially with this gentleman here. So without further ado, Mr. George in the building. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? I appreciate that, man. Got me all with the warm and fuzzies.
Got you in the field a little bit.
Appreciate that.
Yes,
likewise,
sir.
I feel likewise, man.
Man, definitely, man. Appreciate you being on What's Your Hustle, man, and look forward to the people listening and getting a chance to get to know you and what you're about and some of the great things that you've been able to do and in these last decades.
Yeah.
So of course the question here's the number one question: what's your hustle?
What's my hustle? What's my hustles?
There we go.
Right. I'll start at the top. So I've been privileged to have you DJ a handful of the paint and sip events that I do on a monthly basis.
Yep.
It was paint, poetry, and potions, but I've since changed it to paint and potions.
Yep.
So every month I do a music theme paint and sip because one of my passions is music. So I just found a way to incorporate that and marry it with one of my other passions, which is visual art.
Right.
Since my degree is in graphic design, I'm an artist. So paint and sips, I got into it by accident. My wife took me to one maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, before COVID.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there. I enjoyed myself. I was the only guy, not many of us go.
That's true.
That's true. Right. So I'm sitting there like, okay, I can do this, especially after several of the attendees needed some assistance with their painting with me being an artist. I'm like, okay, I see the host has a DJ. She got the drinks coming. Everybody having a good time.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah.
So COVID, I was actually going to start it, but COVID hit. So I waited till after COVID. So ever since then, it's been on and popping. My first one was at the December of 21 when COVID started to kind of calm down. So I'm going on. It'll be 3 years, the end of this year, that I've been doing them almost every month. So like I said, it's music theme. I choose an artist. It's my way of paying homage to our icons. So I usually choose a music artist.
Yeah.
I have the DJ play music from that artist solely. Yep. And then the painting is a simplified image of that artist. And I say simplified because I know a lot of folks tend to be intimidated when they go to paint and sips, like, oh my God, I can't paint. And I just want you to have fun.
Yeah.
So what I do is copy the image. I draw the image on every canvas.
Yeah.
I paint it, keep it simple, and you come and you do your thing. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. One thing, and you mentioned, I've been honored to DJ quite a few of those.
Yes.
And one thing from my personal experience that I've always enjoyed, even kind of being on the fly on the wall, just playing the music, is it's really an opportunity for us grown folks to get out without being too much in the city. being amongst other people who have kind of that same attitude, that same, hey man, I want to get out, I want to be able to do something, have fun with my girls, my significant other, without worrying about being out too late or being in an environment that I might be shaky about. So, although the immediate premise is there, we know what it's about. Is that something that you take in consideration when planning these? Like, okay, I want to make sure that the environment is okay, the venue is okay. I want to make sure people are comfortable when they're driving here. How important is that? Just getting the people to these events. How important is that concept?
Yep. So now I'm of an age. I'm a half a century. Ain't nobody got time. The days of being out to 1 and 2 in the morning, that's a wrap. So I purposely 4 to 7 on a Saturday. That way, to me, it's a middle ground. So I have a lot of youngins that come. So usually I'm the first stop, which I'm privileged for that. So, I remember back when I was in my 20s and 30s, you kicked it, you maybe went to 3 separate spots. So I'm like, okay, what was I doing in my 20s and 30s? My first stop, usually it was a chill spot. You listen to some music, you go have your first drink. So that's where I come in. So I'm the first stop for the youngins. Now, for folks upwards to my age, I'm the stop. So I'm in. So I purposely made it 4 to 7. Because I think that's a perfect time for those that are just, hey, I'm just here. This is it for me, or this is my first stop. So that was mad consideration. Then I also I work with Shantae, who's CEO of Beyond the Bricks Kitchen. She has the bomb food. So what better marriage for that, for her food. And then right now I'm at Savor Bar and Grill, which I think, matter of fact, you hosted, I got familiar with Savor Bar and Grill because of you. You hosted what they call silent listening.
Yes, sir. The
silent party.
Yes, sir.
My wife and I went to. I'm like, okay, this spot, I left roomy spot. So hey, it was all perfect. So I definitely took that into consideration. Endless parking. You ain't got to pay for parking. You come up in there 4 to 7, and then if you now, even though the music may shut off, if you need to stay there a little later, that's what's up. That's all good. So definitely took all of that, and then also, I'm very personable. I've been to some events where you don't even really see I walk around. Usually I'm mad achy the day after, but that's because aside from setting up and breaking down, I'm coming around. You doing okay? You good? I'm all about. I try to treat folks the way that I would want to be treated when I go out. When I go to an event of that type of caliber. Most definitely.
Absolutely, man. And I, again, as even though I've been a part of the event, man, that's something that I can appreciate, just being able to be that host, because people appreciate it. And those are some of the things you might not always hear in the feedback, but you can just tell by people's body language, by the conversation. I'm sure, as you walk around, people really enjoy, they feel like they're really a part of something instead of just being a consumer, right? They pay tickets to do something, and they come out and now sometimes the host feel like you owe them something, and that's not always the case.
And like I tell them all the time, I'll tell them, I'll get on the mic and say, look, I give it up for y'all for being here because you could have been anywhere else. I do not, and I've literally shed a tear because for the last 3, I've had women's groups come. Like whether it was, I had a women's group come in from Cincinnati. The last one, I had a women's group come from Dayton. Then there was a girl crew that came. They have a food truck company. They came from Toledo. You don't have to, what? So you chose my event because you saw it on Eventbrite. And you're like, hey, y'all, let's roll out there on the side. And then that's another thing. 4 to 7 is perfect because a lot of the times when they come, they get right on the road and go back.
And it's
still not too late. So it's the perfect time. And that's what one of them told me. That's why they chose it. So that's what. I don't take that for granted.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And then the last point I want to say to this, because we can talk about this event all day, man. It's just such a great experience. Is and it's because of who you are. It's because of your dedication to a healthy relationship, Um, that is a perfect, not only just a date night. To me, that's a perfect first date night, in my opinion.
I
In my
agree.
opinion, you know, because
Look, I just want to say real quick.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to get the fellas to come out.
yeah.
It's fellas who, if there are any, if I was single, I would be at my events.
I second that. I second
40 to 60 people.
Yep.
95% women.
Yep. Yep. I second that. I second that. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And to your point, you know, that's again, you still have space to have conversation, because even though you're painting and stuff, you know, you're sitting next to somebody, or you know, you can man, the possibilities are endless to create a memory with someone who can potentially be, you know, a wife, fiance, or a girlfriend, whatever the case may be. So, you know, I think that is that, like you said. So fellas, if you're looking, that's a good place to start. That's a good place.
A lot of single women. Now, I did have a couple come 2 events ago that it was their first date.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's what's up.
That's dope. Oh man, that's great, man. That's great, man. And we'll before we end this, we'll definitely, because I know you got one coming up, we'll definitely make sure we plug that. But I definitely wanted to get into, because not only do you do that, and you mentioned your love for music, you know, but you also do, you know, you're a poet as well. You know, how influential is, because you know, because I know from our conversations, you know, you being a big fan of music is an understatement. I mean, you are a huge advocate of the culture. You love the culture of music. But how does that play into, if at all, into doing spoken word or your poetry? Or do you take anything from music, especially hip hop, towards poetry?
Oh, most definitely. If you were to ask me who are my favorite poets, I could throw out Nikki Giovanni, Saul Williams, Amir Baraka, and Langston Hughes. But honestly, my favorite poets: Stevie Wonder, Prince, Rakim. Then if I want to go to the left, we can Lennon and McCartney, the songwriting team of Lennon and McCartney of the Beatles, Fleetwood Mac. So music has always music provided me with my first favorite poets.
Got you. Wow.
As a youngin, when I started writing poetry at 12. Wow. So my favorite poets beginning when I started writing in the mid 80s were not poets. They were musicians. I was the kid sitting on the floor in Indian style reading the lyrics off of the back of albums.
Wow.
Reading the lyrics off of Purple Rain and Songs in the Key of Life and Abbey Road. And Rumors, and then when hip hop happened, that was a whole nother level.
Right.
A whole nother.
Right.
Rakim blew my mind.
Yeah. Wow, man. That's you know, I don't think people realize if they or maybe they don't have that discipline. I'll say that to really dissect some of those lyrics. Just speaking on some of the artists that you spoke of on both sides of the spectrum, R&B, love songs, and hip hop, how influential they could be just in your own creativity, right? And really sitting back and dissecting those words and creating them for yourself and in your personal. And I know, again, you know, I know you do a lot of poetry about, you know, love, about relationships and stuff like that, you know, so just kind of dive into that a little bit, man. And just, you know, how you really grasped and took a hold into poetry, and why so much poetry into that particular subject, you know, love, relationships, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I started writing, I've been writing since I was 12, but I got serious with it in my mid-20s and late 90s. So around the time I started performing, it was the thing. The movie Love Jones had come out in 97. The movie Slam had come out, and that was the first time I ever seen Saul Williams, who's like my poetry idol, perform it. I didn't know. Before that, to me, poetry, I've just seen somebody at a podium. You know the episode of Fresh Prince when Jeffrey. Will Smith lad. You know,
yeah.
right. That was I love. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So to me, before that, that was poet. That was how you read poetry.
Yeah.
So, and at the time, it was all everybody was from Cleveland, where I'm from. Going to the open mics, everybody was doing revolution. That was big at the time. Revolution poems, black poems. That's all, which is fine. But
Right.
I'm a person about balance.
Sure.
I'm also a hopeless romantic. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be the love dude. Now I didn't really say that intentionally, but I ended up being that dude. I can write. I love writing about love because to me that is the core of our community that gets lost.
Yeah.
And then at the time I was writing a lot of erotic poems because I had just got out of a long-term relationship. I was not the promiscuous type of dude, so it was my way of just kind of venting those frustrations into writing.
Yeah.
So I just became known as the erotic poetry dude, the love poem dude.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like that's the core of what's missing.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking about what's missing in our relationships, what's missing in our music, love.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Do you think that type of poetry, how significant is that type of poetry with some of the really powerful love songs like your Lenny Williams or folks like that? How do those two coincide? Because, and the reason why I asked that question is because to me, you kind of listen to them in kind of the same. You're sitting down, more than likely you just at some type of piece. You really kind of vibe it out, But is the reaction the same when you're listening?
For me, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll give an example. So on the other day, I posted on Facebook. I was listening to "Adore" by Prince, which I've heard a million times.
Sure.
That song, if you read it without the music, that is the bomb poem. My dude said, "Without you, there is no sea, there is no shore.
Yeah.
Love is too weak to define how much I adore." 35 years later, that dropped, 87? 37 years later, that still blows me away.
Wow.
That's poetry. The whole song "As" by Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Poetry. You could take away the music, you could take away the organ, you could take poetry. Yeah. So to me, it's the same thing. I get the same, and I feel a lot of mainstream, and I'm always careful to say mainstream. A lot of the mainstream R&B is missing that. Yeah. It's really not poetry set to music anymore. It's just whatever it is. But a lot of the older R&B, mainstream R&B at least, was nothing but poetry because songwriting back then was a craft. Right. It was a craft. Right. From Babyface to Prince to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis when they wrote for people. Yeah. It was a craft, and you don't really have that anymore too much in the mainstream. But it was really just poetry set to music. Yeah, that's all it was.
So now that you are super proficient in poetry, you have become an author.
Yeah.
So how did creating the books come about? Was that from the poetry? Was the demand for your spoken word that high that it's like, you know what, I need to make this a hard copy,
Nah, it was really first of all, that is the scariest thing I ever did. Wow. Because I don't consider myself, people now, I guess I am a writer. Oh, you're a great writer. Like when I write my reviews and post, oh my God, this, I've even gotten a little job from the one review I posted. But I was always looked at myself as a poet. So my book Lover, which is now available on Amazon. If you look up George Lee Jr. and Lover, it's there. It was just a strong will to write it. It's basically letters to my fellow men as to how we can treat our women better. Yeah. My 9 to 5 has always been, well, not always been, for the last 17 years working in colleges and financial aid. So I just started seeing a lot of the younger relationships and how our generation definitely had, we had our flaws, but I'm just seeing the degradation of it worsening even more. And so I'm just like, I know I was blessed enough to be raised in a home where there was a present dad. It
Yep.
doesn't take away. There's a lot of strong men and a lot of good men that were raised by single moms, but I felt like I had a little bit of an edge because I actually had a man in the house who was about his business, who showed me rather than told me how to treat my mom.
Yeah.
And I just grew up and saw that. So I'm like, let me put what I saw in a book and put it in the letters, the letter of communication. This is how I feel we should communicate. The letter of honesty. We should be honest to our women. The letter of devotion. So as much as I've always just been a poet, it was like a dare. I dared myself to get outside of my comfort zone and just write. And I wrote. And honestly, it's, to me, I love that book better than any poem I've ever written.
Wow.
Because it's just, to me, so urgent and necessary. It's coming up on its 10-year anniversary in January. So I do plan on having a relaunch and because I feel like as many people that there are that have bought it, not enough people still know about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree, man. And I can't, while you're talking, I'm trying to, in my mind, I'm thinking of the next question and I don't know how to ask it because it's such a wide subject as we talk about how us brothers or some of our brothers treat our sisters, and the relationships or lack thereof that we have with our sisters. But I'm answer it the best way you can. I'm gonna try to ask it the best way I can, especially with social media and the things that we're seeing on social media. You know, what are we missing? And when I mean we, I mean brothers, men, African American men. It doesn't have to necessarily be our younger brothers' generation. It could be our generation. It could be whatever. What are we missing? Why are we so disconnected from being better to our sisters?
I just really, I think some of it is ego. It's a multi-layered pie.
Right.
It's not only a pie, the pie is then layered.
Yeah.
Lack of direction, lack of what we saw, because my generation to a degree has to take responsibility because we raised the 20 and 30-year-olds that's out here now.
Yeah.
I think also art, the degradation of art has a little to do with it. You can say all day that art doesn't influence, but look at what was on TV and on the radio back in the 90s and 80s. Love, love, love. You had shows that had Black families, a man in the family that was about that was loving on his wife. Then you turn on the radio, you hearing Babyface talk about you are my everything.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that has, now you're seeing almost the opposite when you turn on the TV now with reality television, social media, the lyrics of the songs that, you know, so I think that's another layer. That's a whole, you know, I don't care what you say, but as a 14 and 15-year-old kid, when I was listening to these songs and it was matching up with what I saw, what my dad was doing, I just assumed, oh, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I'm listening to Jodeci talking about Forever My Lady in 1990, in the summer of 91, and then I'm seeing my father, I'm coupling it with seeing my dad come in and give roses to my mom for no reason. And I'm like, I'm looking at him like, it's not her birthday. It's not Valentine's. Why is he bringing home roses? Oh, okay. I guess that's what then I'm putting on Forever My Lady.
Yeah.
Which was the mainstream R&B joint at the time. So that has to do with it.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Art, who we are, what we see, what we absorb. Then the fact that men traditionally are taught not to feel, not to feel in your feelings.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful to God that I was raised in an opposite household, but I have a lot of friends who I've heard their dads.
Yeah.
What you crying for?
Right.
What's wrong with?
Right.
So when you take that away, the intimacy, there's no intimacy. You're not going to be apt to be intimate in a relationship. And when I say intimate, I don't just mean sexually.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
intimacy
Absolutely.
really, it just means closeness.
Absolutely.
You're not,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, that's an answer that would probably take until 9 p.m.
Yeah, I
to
know, I
fit.
know, I
But
know.
to
That's
me,
why
that's
I'm
the
sitting here
highlights.
I want to ask it, but man, it was open up so many cans, but I'm with you. I agree with you. Uh, now my dad, and I love him to death. I hope he doesn't he doesn't see this, but I didn't necessarily see that example from my dad, but to your point. And I'm not too much younger.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with the music for me, and that's what had me like, okay, I like this. I like what
Yeah.
JDC is saying. I like what everyone Case was saying, Usher was saying, and just everybody, even the women that was saying. I just loved what everybody was saying, and it for me it created a fantasy that I tried to recreate when I was talking with the young ladies in junior high and high school. So
Cause yeah, what did we do back then? We used to I used to sing songs to my high school sweetheart over the phone.
I was just
For
about
the,
to say, right. I was just about to say, I wrote the letters. Thanks, that Aaliyah's. I did. I wrote a letter. I did those things because that was the example that I said. You know what? And plus, again, kind of to what you said, but on the opposite end, my mom was very about it's okay to feel. My mom was
yes.
very about that.
God bless her for that. Yeah.
So when we had conversations, it was a lot about that. It was a lot. It's okay. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to talk about it, talk about it. Whatever it is, do that. So my mom was very like that, and I grew up to be a lot like her in those ways. So those were examples that I had as well. So for myself, even when I see it, and I look at the social media and I try to pull my son to the side and give him a better way because he's listening to some of that. But again,
Oh yeah.
but
Most
like you,
deaf.
but like you said, at least I'm here at the house where I can say, okay, that's I get it. You're not going to go away from that because that's what you guys are hearing right now. But that doesn't mean that it's law. That doesn't mean that that's
There
what
you
you
go.
have to do.
You're there to counteract it.
Exactly. So again, I'm not by any means no love guru or anything like that, but I do, hope and wish that we can get better,
Yes.
somehow,
Yes.
somebody at it because and there's like you said, we could talk about it forever. There's her side and his side to a lot of different
Oh
things
yeah.
regarding that. But again, knowing who you are and the stuff that you've done and the dedication and commitment that you have on that level and stuff. I just wanted you to kind of give your 2 cents with it. So I appreciate the feedback for
Oh, I
sure.
appreciate it, man. Most definitely.
So let's talk about how uh or let's go back to the paint and sip. When is the
Yeah.
next one? When is the next one? How can they get tickets? All that stuff.
Show. So June 8th, Saturday 4 to 7 is I've done 2 of them in honor of Michael Jackson, which were successful, which actually were my most successful ones. And I've done and this is just bias. I've done 4 Prince ones because
Yeah.
that's my favorite artist of all time.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So I thought this time the demand was somebody, hey, why don't you start doing duos? I'm like, okay. Michael Jackson versus Prince, June 8th,
Hey.
Saturday, 4 to 7. We're gonna have a time. 5032 Chatterton Road on the east side of Columbus. So you go to Eventbrite, you just plug in Peyton Potions. It's right there. That's simple as that. Right now, early bird is $35. I usually take it up to 40 for the regular admission, usually a month before.
Mhm.
But if you hit me up directly, whether it's on my IG, Mr. Lee _73, or my Facebook, which is simply George Lee Jr., you inbox me directly, $25.
Look at that.
Now, what I'm trying to do, and I kind of vented about this the other day, we are good in Columbus for waiting to the last minute.
Of course.
When it comes, to local events. Now,
Yeah.
when they announce them concert tickets, a concert can be 4 months from now.
Yeah. They will be sold out, Larry.
But you know, but when it, or even bigger local events like Summer of Color,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
Yeah.
events like this, folks, I waited out.
Yeah.
I've lost count on how many folks I don't have mad
Mm.
because you said, I'm away to the Chris Brown one is a perfect example.
Mm.
Man, now I was at capacity for that one.
Yeah.
I had folks hit me up. Usually I sell my tickets 2 months in advance.
Yeah. Yeah.
I give you 2 months, sometimes 3 months.
Yeah.
But with the Chris Brown,
yeah,
folks waited till that Thursday or Friday. You still got tickets?
Yeah.
Bruh, I've been selling these tickets for 3 months.
Yeah.
Where were you? You ain't had $25 over the course of 3 months.
And Beyonce the same way. Beyonce wasn't that with the same way? Because I was.
Oh yeah. Well, now the Beyonce one was now that was actually my second. That was my second best selling one.
Right.
I
remember that being packed.
Yeah, that was packed. I had folks at the door. I'm like, and they were on my Facebook page, so they knew. I'm like, I was selling these tickets 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And then you'll have that one person that be mad. I'm like, what do you want me to do? And what folks don't understand, the paint and sip events, I cut the ticket sales off the day before because I got to prep the canvases.
Absolutely.
So it's not the type of event where you could just pay at the door or I gotta know I gotta know how many people are coming.
Yeah. Yep.
So get your tickets now. Don't be mad.
Get them in. And it's early enough. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Dayton, Toledo. Come on through. Come on through to Columbus. Hang with us. 4 to 7.
Every event, I usually have somebody like Cleveland. They don't came from Cleveland. I've had folks come from Cincy, Dayton, Toledo. One time, Pittsburgh.
Oh wow!
It was somebody's birthday, and they drove. Wow. Yeah, I'm like, come on, let's go.
Wow. Yeah. Yep. Now, as far as the book, I know you mentioned it earlier. How can they purchase the book as well?
Yep. So I'm actually in the process of getting more printed. I just had an issue with the printing company because I was supposed to get them printed a month ago. So I got to reach out to those folks who actually pre-sold again to let them know issues with the printer. So I had to find another printer, but I'll have them on hand personally where you can hit me up and get a copy. But right now, Lover is available on Amazon. Again, it's LOVHER, and then you just key in George Lee Jr. It'll come right up. $15 on Amazon. Yes, indeed. Be on the lookout. As I said, I'm in the process of contacting a local bookstore right now to try to set up a book signing.
Oh, nice.
I've never done an official book launch in Columbus ever.
Okay.
So I need to do that, and I'm going to do that in the second half of the year.
Absolutely. Oh man, well that's great. That's going to be great. That's going to be awesome, man. So I always like to ask. I almost forgot. This is the last question, and then we're gonna get out of here, man. But I always like to ask. What would you tell anybody who is looking to either start an event like the Paint and Sip, or looking to really dive into poetry, or looking to create a book like you have? Just starting in that realm. Based on your experience and your, the do's and don'ts that you found out, what would you tell someone on how to start that?
First off, tap into somebody who's already doing it that's successful.
Yeah.
So shout out to Nicole Burton, because she's very gifted, talented local artist here in Columbus. And hers was the Paint and Sip I went to. So I remember hitting her up with a couple questions, tapping this, look for somebody that's doing it. And that's not only doing it, that's successful in it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Stacy Shelton from way back. I used to perform poetry alongside her back, and she's from Akron. Okay. But she used to visit our open mic in Cleveland. She was actually the first person I ever saw not just have a book, but the book looked good. Like there's a thing called chapbook where it's a demo version of a book. Almost every poet I know has done that. She was the first person. When I saw her book, I was like, oh, is this in the bookstores? Like it was really no. I'm like, well, who? So I pulled her aside. Hey, can I call you? Can we? Yeah, that. So that's my advice. Look into somebody who's doing it that looks like they know what they're doing, that's successful, that's doing it good. Hit them up for questions and just plan it out. And know that it may not be immediate.
Yep.
You know, I still experience ebbs and flows with the paint and sip.
Yep.
Keep at it if it's something you truly love to do. The book took a minute, but it happened.
Yep.
Because I stayed the course, I made a plan and I stuck with it.
Yep.
And especially for those creatives who, because most creatives work a 9 to 5.
Yep.
You got to prioritize.
Yep.
It may be Monday night, you may be tired, but if you know you got to get home and proofread something, if you know that this one poem needs editing, set aside some time and get it done. Simple as that.
There it is. Mr. George Lee, man, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Really appreciate the time you spent here, man. And you know, thank you for allowing me to be part of the event journey and continuing to DJ these events, man. And there you have it, man. You know, make sure you guys follow Always Working Radio on on YouTube and IG as well. We got the What's Your Hustle episode coming up next month. But please comment, like, share. We'll see you next time. Mr. George, big brother, salute, sir.
Salute. Thank you, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace.
We gon' put in work.